This presentation is brought to you by Arizona State University's Julianne Wrigley Global Institute of Sustainability and a generous investment by Julianne Wrigley.
In 1995, a Monsanto representative in a speech in Washington, D.C. said, "We've achieved something absolutely unprecedented. We wrote an agreement, gave it to our government, which then had it moved to the GATT. We also went directly to the GATT Secretariat and moved the treaty, and we were the patient, diagnostician, physician all in one." And what was the problem? What was the disease? The disease was farmers are saving seed. Now, a patent is a right of an inventor to exclude anyone else from making, using, selling, distributing what is invented. The problem is when it comes to seed, seed is not an invention. Seed evolves, farmers co-evolve with the seed to breed varieties. Seed is evolution. And I'm so glad Pope Francis has said evolution happens. Evolution is real. Just gave a speech the other day. So the invention of seed being built into law, for me, was so outrageous because I'd been working to defend the integrity of species, the intrinsic value of every life form of this planet, and to suddenly be told the life forms are inventions was a very, very deep violation. But I kept thinking, these companies are talking about 5 of them controlling the seed supply in the future. That's what they said. They said, we are too small, so we must become bigger. And right now you see Monsanto's controlling so many seed companies. At that meeting, there was Ciba-Geigy and Sandoz. They merged to become the pharmaceutical firm Novartis, and then they joined with Astra and Zeneca to become Syngenta, the second biggest corporation that controls seed, especially genetically modified seed. So after I'd heard the corporations talk about their future, I said, I'm going to save seeds. And I took inspiration from Gandhi's spinning wheel, realizing that the British Empire ran on control over the textile industry and the raw material for the textile industry. And the living seed was being reduced to raw material for the biotechnology industry. Because you don't invent the seed, you take it from somewhere. Usually you just steal it. And so much of my life has gone in dealing with what I call biopiracy. Now, seed exchange has always happened. Exchange is not piracy. But you come to me and you take the seed, and then you patent it, and say, I created it, and now you pay me royalty. That's biopiracy. Sadly, this idea of a totally constructed intellectual property in seed and life is being pushed very, very hard, and it is having very high costs. I don't know how many of you are aware, because of patents on seed, on GMO seeds, American farmers are spending $10 billion extra for royalty. Because that's the main intention of genetically engineered seeds, to collect a royalty. In India, I won't give you the long story of what happened to India's cotton, but before globalization, before Monsanto entered the country, seed was, if it was a farmer's own seed, it was 0 cost. If it had been bought from a public institution or a local company, it was 5 rupees or 10 rupees a kilogram of seed. Monsanto enters with 450-gram packages, 1,600 rupees. It's more than 3,600 for a kilogram. And as a Monsanto representative said to a parliamentary committee that was investigating the crisis related to GMOs, they said, yeah, half of it is royalty collection. Now, can you imagine? Here's the seed that's growing and evolving. Here are farmers who have worked to evolve that seed. They're doing the hard work in the field, and the royalties come to Monsanto. There's been so many investigations on the banking system. There have been so many investigations on Ponzi schemes of all kinds. One thing that hasn't been investigated, and I hope the amazing institutions that are hosting this lecture will get into this. Intellectual property rights on seed, patents on seed are a Ponzi scheme. Of course, this Ponzi scheme is upheld with claims of miracles from GMOs. The first claim being that they produce more food and the world will go hungry. There'll be 10 billion people on the planet, and without GMOs you won't have food. Because of GMOs we don't have food. Only 10% of the GMO corn and soya, which accounts for the largest expansion of acreage in the world in the recent years, only 10% goes for food. The UN data has clarified that 70% of the food we eat comes from small farms. And I would assume that if we add the gardens, urban gardens, organic farms, we would have figures that would cross 80%. So in fact, the industrial system is a minority system when it comes to food security. But it is the major system that is causing both the ecological crisis as well as the crisis of democracy.
This presentation is brought to you by Arizona State University's Julianne Wrigley Global Institute of Sustainability for educational and non-commercial use only.